Marv here, Words to the Wise, continually talking about, when we're talking about the wolf, the sheep, and the shepherd. This is part 2. I just finished up talking in part 1, talking about the 3 types of shepherds, and how a wolf philosophy can interact with the third, or the rights philosophy shepherd, where it's more of an interactive and less controlling of management. It's more of an open, fluidic, more individual, personal, responsible, less managed, so to speak, in its manner. Now, defining this with the shepherd and the sheep, you must understand this is an agreed upon philosophy. I'm going to use some examples defining sheep philosophy and shepherd philosophy in contrast to wolf philosophy through events in history, religion, psychology. I'll just use some examples in all the fields to show how they would fit. I'll use one and then I'll flip to the other and do that, and I hope to make it not too confusing. So let's show a contrast between the sheep shepherd philosophy and wolf philosophy in a point of history. Let's take that. We're going to go back to the 1820s, using American history here. Those that are not from America now, I will incorporate, in fact, a little European. I'll try to do both to help y'all. In the 1800s, there was a time in Europe and in America both where things were getting very crowded and they were compressed. There was the potato famines that was taking place in Ireland. There was the compression and problems on the East Coast, the large plantation of the South that were able to hire and bring in the slave labor, whereas the small farmer, it was just him and his sons and maybe 2 or 3 families get together, and they just couldn't cooperate against these large cooperative, large thousands of acre plantations, and they wind up becoming sharecroppers, and they were sitting there going, they're buying up our land because we can't meet it, and we're going to go work for so-and-so, and he's going to be on his land, so we get half the crop and he gets the other half of the crop. We're sharecroppers. It's really bad, or, we're dying, Mom and Pa here in Ireland, we've got to do something. And you sit there and struggle, and you go, hey, I tell you what, Mom, Dad, we're dying here. I want to go. I hear they've discovered gold and there's open lands and things in California. I want to take my family and I want to go to California. We get on that wagon train and go there. Or you're in Ireland, go, I'm going to take my wife and my family and we're going to get on the ship and I'm going to go to the Americas. And the family goes, are you nuts? We need you here. We need your strength here. You have an obligation as a family to hold us together. I know things are tight. This is when we have to hold together. You have an obligation to this family, to us. We're getting older. We need you. You have this obligation to us. And besides, would you really risk your children, your children, your wife? I mean, how many of those people get on the ship? What, 1 in 12 of those ships has to turn around and come back because of some disaster? And even the ships that get it, is it like 1 in 20 of those people are dying of some kind of thing or just disappearing off the boat? I mean, if you're in Ireland or you're in the Americas, you're going to take your kids on the wagon train, the storms, the floods, the Indians, they're attacking, they're killing wagons, just wiping them out. You'd risk their lives for this? You have an obligation to this family. We need you here. Sheep philosophy would go, you're right. I don't know what I was thinking. I was being selfish. I have an obligation to this family. I must meet the needs, and I was being selfish. I will stay. I will do the work. Yeah, you're right. I have the obligation. That is sheep shepherd philosophy. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It is a philosophy. Now the opposing side of the wolf philosophy says, whoa, yeah, I want to take them. This is a slow death here. And I have enough confidence. I've been studying it. I've been paying attention. I'll make sure I take that fruit, and I'm not going to take Grandma's clock on the boat with it. I'll make sure I have room for extra food or extra produce or extra blanket, and I'll be prepared. I've been watching. I've been studying. I know to group and how I've been talking to people and to group together through other families that's had families go over there, and those families have written back. I have prepared. I know to get the shovel. I know what to do on the wagon train. I'm going prepared. I think I can get my family through this. I'm going to take the chance. This is wolf philosophy. Personal responsibility, risk-taking, willing to take that step and go across the valley. Wolf philosophy, to do these things. Well, at the turn of the century, in the beginning of things in the early 1700s, this is what created America, to be quite honest. This is the first country in all of history, in all of mankind, that's has a government written for wolves and by wolves. Every other government document, every other government throughout history of mankind has been based on the shepherd-sheep philosophy. And the only reason this government happened the way it did is because it was nothing but a bunch of wolves that were fleeing out of there, that were willing to take the chance. They got over here and were taking chances and being forced to be personally responsible to begin with when they got here. Those that are personally responsible moved west. They started interacting with the American Indian. The American Indian says, well, you're personally responsible just like us. Hey, welcome to the neighborhood. Glad to see you. It was only later on when these other people started coming in and started putting up fences and everything. What are you doing? This is our land. This is it. But wait, how do you say you own this? How do you don't understand this concept of ownership and this cooperative? They didn't wolf philosophy cannot understand that sheep word cannot keep their word, because it doesn't carry a personal moral code of responsibility. It's only the code to the shepherd is the most important. So the people would either leave or they wouldn't. In the 1840s and the 1850s, it got to the point it was so bad, the sheep finally go to the shepherd and go, yo, shepherd, remember what we told you? Your job is to meet our needs. If not, we'll find somebody that will. We need more pastures, and lots of them. Go find them. Well, if he doesn't, what is the rule? He gets replaced. So the shepherd looks around and he sees lots of pastures west of him owned by a lot of people that did not have this concept of cooperation, the wolf people known as the American Indian. So he basically come out to him and said, get on the reservation and become sheep, or we will kill you. Well, to the wolf, this is very upsetting. They fought. Many of them died. They were pushed onto the reservations. Some of them escaped the reservation and moved through. They don't get to live like a wolf anymore, maybe more like a coyote. They can still howl at the moon and hunt at night. And yeah, occasionally their philosophy they're still shot at. But it's still that sense of freedom, a personal thing. But the shepherd won and pushed them out. And you will see where the shepherd has to meet the needs of the sheep all the time. And it's not just a one-sided operation. It goes dynamically both ways. I can give you an example right now that's showing in modern history. Not to get sidebarred, but we're going to get sidebarred on it. Is in the 1960s, the sheep went to the shepherd and go, we want better farms, we want better barns, and we want better food. So the shepherd looked out across the land, and he saw a group of people that had lots of money because it was going to cost lots of resources. And it was called the middle class. And the shepherd knows that it is independent. And to show these numbers, basically less than 1/3 of the American budget, the gross domestic product that the government spending was less than 1/3 of that gross domestic product. The other people in the public and private sector had the rest. By 1980, the government was using almost 2/3 of that GDP, leaving only about 1/3 of it left in the public and private sector related to spending. In 2010, they're pushing up almost the equivalent of 90% of its very thing into the regards of spending, leaving only 10%. That's why you've seen the loss of the middle class. They did the same thing. The shepherd and the sheep philosophy has done the same thing by acquiring resources. Remember, the point is, anything outside the farm is a resource to acquire. Anything within is to be used. This is the complexity and history of the sheep and the shepherd. We were going to go into another phase in a little bit, and I will discuss a little bit how it goes into religion and personal belief and how these foundations are creating crisis in today's society. And we'll do that in part 3. I want to thank you and hope you've enjoyed this part, and words to the wise, and thank you, and we talk to you later.